Welcome to Geva Insights. I'm Rachel De Guzman, and I'm the Director of Engagement here, and I'm very pleased to be sitting here with Zoe Walker-Itoh. And Zoe was in the original cast of Ain't Misbehavin on Broadway, and she lives here in Rochester. Thank you to Terry and Shaka for telling me that she's here, because I didn't know, and so as soon as she told me, I reached out right away, and we had lunch and talked about her experiences, and she had the opportunity to see this production. It was directed by Jeffrey L. Page and choreographed by Jeffrey L. Page, and got to meet him. We have a photo up on Instagram and Facebook of the two of them together. And the way that I wanted, this is about a half an hour conversation, and the way I wanted this conversation to be structured is the first half to talk a little bit about Zoe, and then the last to talk about this production, to get some insight from her about her impressions of this production. So, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, well, where should we start?
Well, when we were talking, you were telling me about how you came to New York City, and just why don't you just fast forward there a little bit and then talk about your audition process for this, for Ain't Misbehavin.
Okay, well, I'll be very brief with that. I was born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee, and I grew up doing community theater and high school theater, the like that a lot of people do. And I wanted to come to New York and be an actor, and it was not in the purview of anything that I grew up with, but thankfully I had a mom who had three principles for us. One was the first is have something that you are passionate about, something you'd be willing to do for no money. No matter how many hours you put into it, you love it. Be able to survive, do whatever you have to do to survive. And the third principle was honor, being able to do whatever it is you love to do and survive. Just don't do it in a strip club, okay? Just do your very best and do it with honor and dignity. So that was the principle, and it allowed me the energy, the desire to move to New York. And when I came to New York, I did as a lot of people did whatever job I could get, but it was a flourishing time in New York for black theater. The Wiz was running, Sophisticated Ladies, for colored girls who committed suicide when the rainbow wasn't. A lot of really high quality black theater was running on Broadway at the time. And it made it a way for enough people to get work. And so this came up. I had seen it the year before, the role that the little girl, I think her name was
Paris.
Yeah, the young lady, that was the role that I always did, that particular role. And as soon as I saw that, at the time the originator was Nell Carter, and I sat in the audience and says, I can do that, I do that. I do that at home with a pillowcase on my head, I do that. And I just knew I could, and I just stuck with it. I went there, and they have open calls. I did not have an agent at the time, and I went to the open call. I went the first day. I did not get in, because it was probably over 300 people there. But the next time I went in and I sang the Merry Old Land of Oz. But I had already done arrangements of my own, and I had done a swing chart for it. So it had a lot of scat in it, it had a lot of vocal stylings of the period. And I was hired by Richard Maltby and Murray Horowitz, the creators of the show. I didn't know that I got it because I was terrified. Nobody said anything, and they asked me for another song. I'd forgotten what the second song was. But whatever it was, they stopped the audition process. And I had to wait for maybe 2 hours, until a very wonderful, incredible man came in named Manny Eisenberg. And Manny Eisenberg was one of the biggest Broadway producers of ever. And they were going to hire me right then, but they had to get the okay from Manny, so that's why I was waiting, and I did a dance and whatever. And the long and the short of it is I was hired as Nell's understudy, but within a couple of weeks we found that Nell was leaving. She had a TV show out in Hollywood, and they said, do you want to stay? No, did you want to stay in New York? They invited me to stay in New York and take over the role when she left. So that's how I came to be in the show, in that role.
And you were hired at first, though, for the touring show, correct?
Yes, I was put at the first 2 weeks that I came in, I thought I was going on a tour. And I even purchased a trunk and stuff so I could be ready to go. But while I was in those rehearsals, they found out about her leaving, so I was hired as her understudy, and then I came into the role.
So with about a year of being in New York City, you were on Broadway?
Yeah, within a year.
Wow. In a hit show.
It had won the Tony the year before. Yeah.
So what was it like to be a young actor in New York City at that time?
I cannot say for everybody, but I know a lot of young actors struggle a lot. And like I said, it helped that the time period had enough work going around. This is like late 70s, early 80s. It was late 70s. And there were new people coming in and new ideas coming in. There were enough shows for us to work, from musicians to dancers to singers to actors. And I didn't have the same experience because I started working at a casting agency as a little part-time job to just make some money. And then I got this show, and then I ran with it for the next few years. And so my experience is not the norm. Many people, waiting tables, doing whatever you have to do, but do it with honor. I just didn't have to do that because I got a job. And I stayed with the job and stayed with it in New York for a couple of years, and then also went on a national tour with it.
Where did you live?
Where did I live? I lived in Manhattan. I lived on the Upper West Side. I lived on 107th Street in Riverside Drive. And I had 2 roommates at the time. But these were big, beautiful apartments and then unrenovated pre-war buildings. And so I was quite happy doing that. I loved it. I partied like I'd lost my mind. But it was a time I felt good about being the it girl and being invited to, oh God, I can't even think how many things you get invited to, and it was fun to me. To meet Ella Fitzgerald and go to her party. So it was really a great, 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 wonderful, fun time. But that is not everybody's experience.
So you said the late 70s, early 80s was a good time to be a black person on Broadway.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
I would say by the mid 80s, say 85, things were waning. Waning, not just a little bit, but significantly. And a lot of shows that were coming in, like Victor Victoria and LaCaja Foe and other things like this, were coming in that did not show the kind of representation that had been experienced. Remember, when I came in, the biggest thing that was nerve-wracking to me is I saw Whoopi Goldberg do her one-woman show in a little club, and me and my friends just said, we're screwed. We're done. There's no reason for us to be here because she's the one. And at that time, there was this feeling, and it's probably still true, that there is only going to be the one that they let in. And she was it. She was going to be the one that they let in, and we were going to sit and look, well, if you have any other small parts, let us know. Yeah, it waned around the mid-'80s, and it became a lot harder. There were shows, but they were the shows that had the one black person in it. Or if there was a dance couple, they did not do mixed couples so much. So there would maybe be a black male and a black female if there was a dance sequence or a romance sequence of some kind. Because that was all you go get. You're not going to get a truly multicultural class. That wasn't happening.
Before we start talking about this production, can we talk a little bit about your experience in your role? There were numbers then, you didn't have a name of a character, right?
You use your own name.
Okay.
When you receive this libretto, it is just that, the libretto. There is no script. And what comes to life and what makes the joy in it are the 5 people that create the environment, the feeling, the energy of the show. So what I experienced and what I learned from doing it, and I worked with the original choreographer. He taught me the show, and the original director directed me, is that this was taken from Nickelodeons that were race records from Tin Pan Alley and of that period. And you can find all of it on the internet today. There's so much of this show that, like, the Viper number, the one with the I dreamed about a reefer, like that one. That is a number done by a man in the early 1930s called Snake Hips. And he did a whole number called the Viper. Some of the other numbers were very, very made popular by Ethel Waters. Others, even as late or early back then as Pearl Bailey back then. So a lot of this material is based on those old Nickelodeons and Tin Pan Alley things. And their stories. Like this Joint Is Jumping is about a house party. And many of us know about rent fundraising or rent parties and that sort of thing that people have. You sell plates at the house. And people come over, and usually what would happen, and you see it in the scene on the internet with Fats Waller. Everybody's dancing, having a good time. Somebody messes with somebody else's girl, says something out of line, comes, steps to them, and usually somebody pull out their switchblade, okay, or somebody got to, pull up their pistol and get it up in your face. Pistol goes off, the police get called. And that's what this song is about. And it ain't a party. The joint ain't jumping to all of that happened. Right. That's what that one's about. And many other things.
References to the police isn't here yet.
Yeah, like when the lights go, the sirens going out. That's like, uh-oh, the party's getting started. Now we're getting ready to turn up. Because now the police have come. Now we're having a party. And other numbers in the show followed suit with the same thing. Yeah.
Who were your cast members, fellow cast members?
Yes, Andre DeShields, Debbie Allen, Amelia McQueen, Alan Weeks, and Ken Page. Yeah, that was the cast I worked with. And there were understudies. as well, that came through as well. Some of them I think you might know from television.
I'm not gonna say.
Well, I can't remember really. The sister that was in Waiting to Exhale, what's her name? Loretta Devine. You are very, very, actually you were, can you live? And Loretta Devine was once there as an understudy and then went on to do principal in a tour. So, yes, many people.
You were on Broadway 2.5 years. How long did you tour?
I toured about another year, maybe even longer, and I did other pickup companies that came along, like the regional theater was doing a version of it, like you have here. I did it in Atlanta and Cincinnati and Detroit and other places as well, Indianapolis. They needed a company because, to tell the truth, the way things work in theater like this, you often look for people who were in the original company because it shortens your rehearsal time. Because they already know the score and the feeling of the show, and because it's going to change with every theater and every director. But that is another way, and here I am, I'm in my 60s now, and I directed it in 16, 17. So this little show has kept a couple of $1,000 in my pocket every now and then. Whenever I need to, get a new dishwasher or whatever. Yeah, so I'm very grateful to it. I absolutely love it. I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with the people that I have over the years, and I'm going to do other things like Tintypes and other shows as well, but this is the one that took my heart, and I haven't met a young person yet that once they do it, they all love it, and they ask to do it. They ask to, where is it going to be? And like I said, it's a nice little score to have under your belt. It's hard harmony. It's 5-part harmony. So it's not easy to just come in a couple of weeks and teach people that.
Say it again.
Okay, it's not easy to come in a couple of weeks. It's not easy to do it. So I really know. They do look for people who know the libretto. And, well, that's not just this show, that's a lot of shows.
So let's talk about Saturday night when you came to see the performance.
Yes. Well, I was very excited because, I've seen every kind of, every kind of version of this show. And some great and some not so great, and some, well, they struggle, they on the struggle bus, but whatever it is, or, because there's always a number of factors that come into play. One is, can you find the right vocals? Can you find the right look, the dynamics, and the right energy? And that's not always going to come together. So you get varying levels, but what carries through in all of them that gives a good time is the work of Fats Waller and that wonderful music that he created. And it stands the test of time. It's very old now, and it's pretty much been forgotten. But every time I see a new production, I'm so happy that it's continuing to be done. And I'm telling you, there is no place I've been that people don't love it. There's no place. Even when it's bad. Yeah. Oh, Saturday night's production. Well, when I came, I didn't know what I was going to get at all. I just said it's going to be good because it's a good show and it's Fats Waller and everybody's going to have a good time. Fine. And, it's really difficult, but I've trained myself because I've probably seen 30 of these. or more maybe, because everybody does it. High schools do it, everybody. So I have trained myself to not judge everybody's everything, but I am listening to them harmony parts. I am listening to, do I hear that harmony? And are they on pitch? I am on that. But everything else, I don't keep myself tied to it, because it is something that's based on your interpretation. It is not based on a script with a dynamic. It's the relationships between the characters on the stage and how they interact. And it's going to be fresh and new with every group of people. So you have to see, are they relating to each other? Are they having fun? I came Saturday night, and I did notice between Saturday and today, there was a lot more ad-libbing. There was a lot more, I screwed up, blah, 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 so what, you know. And I could tell it, but you know what? It was more of we're together as a group now. We're getting comfortable with each other. So we're going to do things that are going to just be fun. It's not going to be the same, but it's going to be a lot more fun to do.
So I'm going to date myself. I saw it at the Fisher Theater in Detroit. I was a kid. We won't say how much of a kid, but I was, and I loved it then. But so I did not know what I was going to experience now, and I appreciate it even more now. And one of the things, especially we talked a little bit about the black and blue. I mean, I don't think I was breathing during that. It was so powerful. And to me, for me, and I want to have a conversation about this, but for me, the idea of how to take a work that you see when you're a kid, and then see it again with the context of everything else that we've learned over these years or experienced over these years, there in the show, especially for such old material, it seemed really important to me. Is that something that you took note of when you were watching the show? Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, this music doesn't feel old because it's part of my DNA at this point. I can do it. I probably could do the original choreography if I didn't have a bad knee right now. And I definitely could sing all of it. But what the deal that happened to me is it's never lost its appeal. And it's about joy, it's about love, and it's about friendship and a cultural dynamic of the way we relate to each other, not so much the way the white world sees us.
Okay.
And that is what makes it fun, is we goof with each other a certain way. We just be like that, you know? And that's how that it is to me. It's never old.
I think that's a word that I misused. I didn't mean old as in dated. I mean, you referenced the fact that some of it's almost a century.
Yeah, it's old.
Right. But I'm just saying that looking at it, to me, it made me look at it with fresh eyes too, in a different way. To have an original context and then another context too.
I would say this, that I really appreciate about it and glad to see it performed, is that it is history. And not just the music has some historical value, but all the movement from that period. Over the past few years, I've been going to a group called Groove Juice Swing, and what it is I just really got into wanting to know the Lindy Hop, the Jitterbug, the Shim Sham, all those old dances that we created as people. And they are gone from us. I would often, matter of fact, always be the only person of color in the class. And it just would shake me to my core. It's like, these are the things that we created. We created slinging those girls over your shoulders and put them between your legs and ride them on your hip. We did that, and we're not owning it anymore. And this show can allow, and that's something I really wish I'd seen a little bit more of, but whatever, is some more historical dance, because those dances were our social dances. That's what we did when we were going uptown struggling. And that's how we moved. And it became part of the general vocabulary of dance for America. And I don't want us to lose it and lose that. It was black folks that created the Lindy Hop. It was the Susie Q done by Susie Q. It was the Shorty George done by Shorty George. You know what I'm saying? By those people, because that was what they called them. You know, you can, I would love for you guys to get on the internet and look at Hell's a Poppin' with Frankie Manning. And there's a really incredible dance sequence that on there that I think would be very, very worth your while to know what was created by people of color. And I would love to see a lot of that jitterbugging and shim sham and all of that stuff, you know, in this show.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we close? We try to keep these to a half an hour.
Okay, what is it you would like to know, or anybody in the audience would like to know?
Is anybody in the
I have
audience?
a question.
Yes.
And maybe it's, I don't know how to verbalize it, but as a white woman listening to Black and Blue, in regards to what's been going on in our country in the past 2 to 3 to 4 years, that song hit hard, really hit hard. And I'm a white woman listening to that song.
Well, you felt something. You like, oh, maybe the world may not be so good. Maybe I need to change a little bit of something.
So I can't even imagine what other people of color, when they hear that song now, are thinking. And I know I just got back from a civil rights tour in the South, and my eyes have been opened up. Because this is stuff that's not discussed in our education at all. And to come here tonight, I'm thrilled that I came here tonight. And I really hope that more people come, because I came to the prologue and I learned more there. And I really would like to see Geva post the link that you were mentioning about the dances on Facebook and Instagram, because I'm not going to remember to go and look. But it would be helpful if I could go onto a link and look and learn more about that. I think that would be really helpful.
I wanted to say a little bit about the Black and Blue, this is from my perspective. To me, one of the things that was most powerful about it was that it was, from my perspective, for Black people. I mean, it was a communication from Black person to Black person, and of something that we understood that's been happening since the inception of this country. And, you know, it has relevance to the last 3 or 4 years, but it's part of the Black experience. And it was, to me, it felt very personal, like it would to most Black people in the audience, because this is something that we've experienced, our parents have experienced, our grandparents, and so on. So I think that that was the most moving. It felt like it was not for other people not to hear, but for us.
And I'd like to say about Black and Blue, the reaction, the way it comes off today when the two guys are standing here and just facing the audience right before they go into Black and Blue, that was the same reaction that it got in 1979. The same one. And I think, you know, immediately people are not sure and they kind of giggle, or they're not sure of what this is going to be. It's going to be another clown act or something. And then once you settle into it, actually afterwards there was usually silence, and there had to be a lighting change for people to know it was okay to applaud. So It ain't changed. It tells the same story. What this one did was, which was wonderful, it combined black and blue with looking good and feeling bad. That's a big change in the score. And I thought that was extremely good because it really played into that looking good or feeling bad from grieving over you. Looking good to hide those bitter blues.
I'm glad that you said that because the director would be, Jeffrey Page would be very happy that you noticed that because it was intentional to show that as Black people we wear masks lots of times, and that was to make the audience aware of the fact that we've been wearing this mask, especially with Fat and Greasy, and even though you were participating in the call and response, it's intentional to provoke you to think about why were you participating in that. And then we transition into black and blue, which kind of answers the question.
Yeah, the roles and the mask you have to play in order to survive.
Exactly.
And the roles and the things you have to do to be uptown, how you react uptown as opposed to how you act when you go downtown.
Exactly.
You have to be a completely different person.
Yeah.
And many of us, particularly my generation, grew up that way.
Right.
We saw our parents code switch and have to carry themselves one way. My best friend in high school was white, and my dad used to call her Miss. And Daddy, we were the same age. We go to high school together. He just was not used to calling a white woman by her first name.
Did you grow up in the South?
Yes,
Where, man?
Nashville.
Oh. Yep.
So it was a different. I did have one thing that I wanted to say is sex. And as with much of the repertoire of that period, everything was a double entendre. So every time you sang anything, anything, you were talking about sex. Honey, so. You know, all of that, we did that. You don't mind sugar, you just have to touch my, what? You know, everything is sexualized that way. And that's just, it's a sweetness to it, but I like a little bit of raunch. You know, I would have liked to see the garden multitude. When some lace panties when the dresses fly around. I wouldn't have mind watching that. You
Is
know.
that how it was in your,
And every production I've ever directed, I make the women wear the lingerie from the period. You better get it straight. You're gonna put on one of them hard bras, and you're gonna put on the underslip with lace on the bottom, and you're gonna wear some tap pins with lace, and you're gonna have on garter belts. Yep, that's how they go. And so it doesn't take much to bring out the sex, because every time you flip, oops, I see, and everything got a little cleavage. Got a little cleavage showing, so it don't take much to go looking good and feeling good. It don't take much to do much of anything, because cut low enough. You know, the dress will do the work, you know. That I wanted to say, but other than that, it was a fabulous production. I really was so honored to see it. That black feather cape came out and it gave me my life. I loved it, and the jacket that one of the gentlemen wore in the Waldorf. That was
with the sequins?
Yes, it was for filth. It was just everything I like about theater. Too much! Just way too much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Zoe.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.